What's up, guys? I'm Tim. This is New Craft Workshop and it is almost spring, so guess what time it is? It's spring project time. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Let's go. All right, as you can see, this is what we're starting our springtime builds out with. This is a really nice planter box. Now, as you can see, yes, I made mine out of pine. I am going to paint this with an exterior grade paint, so I know this is gonna hold up just fine. If you wanna use something other than pine, feel free to do so. If you wanna stain yours, feel free to do so, because on this channel, we always tell you guys to make it your own. When you do, you're gonna head over and join our Facebook group, which will be linked down in the description. You're gonna share your take on my project and everybody's gonna ooh and ah because you guys are awesome, and the stuff you guys show in the group kind of makes me jealous sometimes because you guys are really good woodworkers and I'm not quite there yet. I'm getting there. So, as always with all of our projects, whether they're beginner or intermediate, we're going to give you a cut list right here, and then we're going to give you a tool list right here. We're gonna start with our cut list, and I'm gonna kind of show you as I give the cut list where these pieces go. So we're gonna start with some 1x4 material. We're gonna need 16 pieces to make up our 4 sides. We've got 4 1x4s on either side for a total of 16 pieces, and these are cut to 17.5 inches long each. On each side, we have 2 horizontal pieces. These are made from 1x3s. These are cut to 14 inches long, so we'll need 8 of those. And then our 4 corners are made from a 2x2. Actually, mine's made from a 2x4 that I ripped down into a 1.5 by 1.5. If you know, you know, that's actually a 2x2. I ripped it down from some scrap 2x4s up on my lumber rack. These are going to be 19 inches long each. And then finally, we have our top. Our top is made from 1x4 material as well. And I'm not going to give you the dimensions on that because big box lumber is not always extremely accurate. And I want you to do it the way I do it. If you want to, at the end, I'll show you how I measure and make my tops to where there's a little bit of an overhang on the inside as well. I think it just looks a little bit better aesthetically. Big word of the day. So that's your cut list. You guys ready for the tool list? Because this is going to be a little bit of a long one today. So tool list. First thing we're going to need is our miter saw, or if you watch the way I cut my stuff, I'm just going to use my table saw today. But you will need your table saw for some of this stuff if you're ripping down your material yourself. You're going to need your brad nailer. Hopefully you have one. If not, hammer and nails. You're going to need your router table, palm router like this, handheld router, something. If you want your edges to be chamfered, rounded over to give it a little bit of a nicer look. To get this bead look in here, you're going to need a router. So we're going to need that. We're going to need our pocket hole jig today because we're putting this together with some pocket hole joinery. You're going to need your drill, your driver. You're going to need some wood glue. You're going to need brad nails. You're going to need pocket hole screws, blue epoxy, since this is going outside. We don't want any rusting of our screws. We want to make sure we use the proper materials for the proper application. And we're going to use blue epoxies today. If you are staining your material, you're going to need stain. If you're painting it, you're going to need paint. I don't know what we're doing, so that's why I'm showing it to you bare wood today. So just know that Mrs. Newcraft is going to fix this up, and it's going to look great out on the patio. So you have your tool list, you have your cut list. You guys ready to build? Let's do this. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna head over and get all of my material cut to length. Now I'm using my table saw for almost everything today. I find it's just easier than right now lugging my miter saw up onto the workbench because I'm old and my shop is still under construction. But here at the table saw, I'm just cutting everything to length. I'm using my awesome Going Make miter gauge for this, and if you don't have a miter gauge, this is the miter gauge to buy. Seriously, it's really good quality and you're gonna absolutely love this thing. But back to this build, I'm gonna cut everything to length and then I'm going to rip everything to width. I am using a 1x6 to get my 2 side pieces. If you want to just buy 1x3s and you don't need to rip anything. Also, I'm ripping my corners out of a 2x4, and as you'll see right here, what I'm doing is I'm just scooting my fence over enough to run my blade and pull this rounded edge off of one side. Once we get that rounded edge off, it gives us a nice flat surface to run up against our fence. Then I can rip 2 1.5 pieces from each 2x4, and I'll use 2 scraps I had laying around. That's going to give me my 4 legs. So we've got all of our material cut to length and ripped to width. So let's head over to the router table. All right, so we have 16 pieces that are going to make up our side, 4 on either side. And the way we're going to run this across the router table is I'm using a chamfer bit here, and our 2 inner pieces are going to get a chamfer on both sides of the board. Our edge pieces are only going to get chamfered on one side. We just want this V groove running right here. We don't need to chamfer this side. It's going to be tucked up against this leg anyway. So we're just going to do 8 pieces. 2 on either side are going to get 1 chamfer. The other 8 pieces are going to get chamfer on both sides. When we're done with our 16 pieces that make up our vertical, we're going to take our 8 horizontal pieces and we're going to chamfer only one side there. We don't need a chamfer up here because this is hidden where it touches our top, and we don't need a chamfer on the bottom because it's on the bottom and you really don't see that. So one side of all 8 of these is going to get a chamfer. Then we're going to take our 2x2s. And I'm going to chamfer 3 sides of that. The side that is tucked into this, where it's back here and you're not going to see it, doesn't need to be chamfered. If you want to, you can. It's just, there's no need. I'm going to run my chamfer bit over 3 sides so that the 3 exposed sides kind of continue that look that we're getting everywhere else on all of our material. So, looks like we're about done at the router table. All of our stuff is cut to length. All of our stuff is chamfered. Going to head back over to the workbench and get out the pocket hole jig. All right, we're going to take our 8 horizontal pieces. These are the 1x3s, and we're going to drill 2 pocket holes in either end. Now, make sure when you are drilling in your pocket holes, it is on the opposite side of the board from your chamfer. Your chamfer is going to be exposed out here. We want our pocket hole screws on the inside. I'm not going to bore you with all of these pocket hole screws. These pocket holes, but we're going to drill 2 on either end on all 8 boards. Spacing isn't super important, and if you do not have a pocket hole jig, get one. And if you're in the market for one and you don't mind spending just a little bit more money, the 720 Kreg that I use in my shop is absolutely the best in my opinion on the market. This dust collection on this is phenomenal. As you can see while I'm drilling these, there is 0 dust flying out into my shop. Super important when you're out working in your shop to wear your dust mask and stuff, but with this Kreg, there's literally no dust, and I don't even bother wearing my mask, if I'm being honest with you, when I'm drilling pocket holes, because it's that clean and efficient. All right, pocket holes, done, let's go. All right, it is finally time to start assembly. Now, we cut 2 pieces for each side of our planter. We have what's basically going to become a top and a bottom. And this right here is why we only chamfered one side, because when we put our planter together like this on either side and run our 4 pieces vertically, we don't really need the top nor the bottom chamfered, so that's why we did that. Now, let me grab 2 of these real quick. And I'm gonna show you on camera an assembly of one of these, and then you'll understand kind of how everything else goes together. So we're going to take our top and our bottom runner, making sure that our chamfer is facing in. And then we're going to take 2 of our side pieces. And remember, we only chamfered 3 sides of these 2 guys. The unchamfered, if that's even a word, the side that we did not chamfer, just make sure that's facing in. We want the other 3 sides that are going to become exposed on the exterior to be the sides that are chamfered to match everything else. Now, if we were to just lay this down and screw this together, let me flip this over and show you what this would look like on the other side. We do not want this flush for multiple reasons. 1, it just doesn't look good, and 2, it doesn't look good. And let's go absolutely 3 reasons we don't want to do this is because it doesn't look good. So we need to recess this back. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach up here and grab a slat that is about the thickness that I need. And look, remember earlier we were trimming our 2x down and we cut those rounded edges off. This is what's left over, and these are invaluable to have in your shop. I'm just gonna make one. I'm gonna cut this down to about 12 inches because this is 14, and then we will be able to set this underneath here. My wife will kill me if she saw that I said that wrong. And we will place this slat underneath here, raising it up, giving us that reveal we want. So let me cut this, I'll be right back. All right, so let's get everything reoriented to where we want this. Now, the top horizontal brace is going to mount flush with our top of our 2x. And when we place this little slat underneath there, you can see how that raises that up, and that's going to get us where we need to be as far as our inset. So the bottom one, we are going to place 1 inch up from the bottom. So I'm going to just real quick mark all 4 of my 2x so that I have a mark 1 inch from the bottom. Then all we're going to do is we're going to glue and pocket hole screw this into place. And then once we have 2 panels done, we can then run our runners in between the other 2 panels. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here we go. And we are putting this together with blue epoxy coated pocket hole screws. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to get painted or if we're going to put something like some Thompson's water seal on it. I'm guessing it's going to completely depend on how this thing looks. So let's get this thing assembled. Again, we're just going to use some glue, and I am using, hold on. I never misplace anything in this shop.
Lies.
But we are going to be using Titebond 3 because it is an outdoor project and I'd rather just be safe than sorry on this. And the blue epoxy, even if we paint this, just protect yourself. CYA. All right, so we're gonna just put a dab of glue. I'm actually gonna start on this end because, well, I'm right-handed and this is an easier end. And don't be afraid to go a little heavy on the glue. End grain tends to soak up wood glue pretty quick, so if you go a little heavy, it's totally okay. And then we're just gonna line up our bottom with our mark, if I can get this turned the proper way. And then we're going to pop us a couple of pocket holes in here. And I am going to utilize my cool little T-track stops from Miles Craft. If you don't have anything like this on your T-track bench, I promise you, get some and you'll wish you had them all along because these are freaking phenomenal. So keeps me from having to pull out clamps every time I want to drive some pocket hole screws. So we're just going to make sure that this is lined up and level. We want it right on our line, and then we're just going to drive some screws in. All right, and before I zip on to the other components, just wanted to show you this. This is why we did that offset. If you notice the way that this reveal looks now, that chamfer lines up almost perfect with that. It's just gonna give it a much nicer look. My opinion, as we always say here on the channel, if you've watched before, you know it's coming, make it your own. All right, I'm gonna build another piece just like this. Once I get 2 of these built, I'm gonna stand them up and I'm gonna connect the 2 pieces on the other 2 sides to bring these 2 components together. And once that's done, I'll catch you guys back here and we'll get all of our vertical slats put in. This thing's coming along quick, let's go. All right, so this is the point we're at now. We have our frame built and we're ready to start putting our slats in. Now remember, our slats have 4 pieces where there is a non-chamfered side and a chamfered side. So we're going to pop these pieces in. Again, just make sure your piece that has the one side that is not chamfered goes to the outside right here. Just line these up because we want the top of this right here. So this right here, we want these as smooth as possible because that's going to give us a little bit extra room to tack our top in place once our top is mitered. So, man, I was doing so good today, and then all of a sudden, like, kind of everything just went off the rails, man. I don't have my rag, I don't have my brad nailer turned on, I don't have anything going right now, but guess what? We got this. So I am using 1 1/4 inch long brads. We have 2 3/4 inch pieces of material, which is 1.5 inches. If you use anything longer than 1 1/4 inch, you're gonna blow out the other side, and you don't wanna do that. Now, when I started putting this together, I ran into an issue, and yeah, sometimes things happen, and I'm gonna show you as best I can as to what's going on, and hopefully this will make sense. So sometimes things happen, and we have to figure out a solution. Let me show you what happened while I was putting this together. So we have our 4 pieces making up our outside component, or panel, I'm sorry. 4 of these measure out to 14 inches. Worked out just great. The problem came when I had this side and this side put on. Now my next side panel and here, the dimension was actually shorter than 14 inches. So we need this particular panel to go all the way up against our leg, because if not, we'll have a gap here, and that gap is going to be extremely ugly. So I found an easy solution, and I just cut a rabbet in my 4 edge boards, and ignore the glue. This is the bottom. It's going to get like painted, so it's the bottom, who cares? But I had to cut a rabbet here. The other option was to rip these boards down, but again, ripping this board down leaves a gap here, and it's not attractive. So sometimes we have problems out in the shop, but we fix them because, like Bob Ross said, right, it's just a happy little mistake. So my mistake turned into me making some rabbets on 4 pieces. If and when I put plans up for this particular planter, I will address that in SketchUp so that the plans will reflect the proper way to do this. I think I probably should have just cut a 45 right here on the end of this particular board and this board, and created kind of a miter right here, and everything would have fit together a little bit better, but is what it is. Let's go. So let's get this thing glued up. If I can find my glue here. And I'm going to just use some brad nails to tack this in place. Once the glue sets up, it is not going to go anywhere. So we're just going to put a nice, big, heavy amount of glue on here. And this glue bottle is running dry. What's a day like if Newcraft Workshop doesn't have to go off camera to grab something? I mean, that's kind of like what we do here. So we're just going to put a bunch of glue up here. And we are going edge grain to edge grain here, so we don't need a massive amount of glue, not quite as much as we needed when we were doing end grain. And make sure any of your squeeze out, we get that cleaned up as soon as possible, because as I stated in the beginning of this video, I'm not sure how we're going to finish this. Depends on how it looks once it all comes together. If it is something that I feel like I can get away with just throwing some Thompson's water seal on here, I will. If it needs to be painted, then we don't need to be as picky about our glue cleanup, but just get in the habit of cleaning up as you go. Look, some guys will let it dry and scrape it. I like to clean as I go, so do you, right? Make it your own. All right, so we're almost done. This is looking really, really nice. Hold on, I got a little squeeze out right here. Okay, so I want my top I want my corners angled at a 45 degree. And the easiest way to do that, I have found, is we're going to take our measurement from inside to inside, which is 13.5. I'm going to take half of an inch off of that and make it 13. And when I cut my miters, my short side of my board is going to be 13 inches. That's going to give me just a slight overhang on the inside of this box. I don't know what the outside measurement is because I'm not going to tell you, because every 1x4 is slightly different. Just make sure that you measure this dimension, take half an inch off. It's going to give you the perfect size for your thing. So let me cut 4 pieces with opposing miters, 13 inches on the short side. I'll be right back. So I've got my 4 pieces cut, and this right here is basically just going to be eyeballed and put into place. This does not have to be extremely precise. Now look, if you want to, you can join these ends together with some pocket hole screws or whatever. I'm just going to glue and tack these in place. I'm going to make sure that my lip is fairly even on the inside of each one of these pieces. And then I'm just going to lift this up, drop some glue on here, and I'm going to tack this in place. And if you want to screw this down, feel free. I think honestly, it's a little bit overkill. We just need to make sure that our edges are lined up before we start tacking things in place. And if you've ever watched my channel before, you know I love to just kind of eyeball things sometimes, especially on projects like this. That's it. Awesome way to start the spring projects section of New Craft Workshop for 2026. I have a ton of content coming for you guys this year. Planning on popping up at least 30 to 40% more videos than we did last year, keeping you guys constantly out in your shop doing your take on our projects, because that's what it's all about here. We do some really cool stuff. We do simple stuff, intermediate stuff, advanced stuff, and then we just tell you guys to make it your own. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up for this video, turn on those notifications, click that subscribe button, and the most important thing you can do to help New Craft Workshop out is going to be to leave a comment down in the comment section. I think to this day, I have still gotten to every single comment that has come through. I think maybe I missed a couple, but I'm almost certain that I've gotten to all of you guys. So, as always, I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of your time with me here at New Craft Workshop. Don't forget, down in the description, you're going to find links to a ton of stuff, not just our Facebook page, but our website, our Amazon storefront, links to items we use in this project, etc., all down in the description. Like, share, comment, you got it. That's all I got for you this time. As always, thanks for your time, and we will catch you guys on YouTube.